All right, on this episode of One-on-One, we have the parish president of Terrebonne Parish in the house, Mr. Jason Bergeron. We're going to talk about things, a little bit politics, but mostly away from politics, where he grew up, what made him tick, that kind of stuff. It's all coming up next. Don't go away. One-on-One is brought to you by the Law Office of Waits and Downer.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System. Your health is our legacy. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bourke, know your rights. South Louisiana Bank, it's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough. Alford and Associates, for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barker Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality.
And welcome back to this episode of One-on-One. I'm Martin Falls. Very pleased to have with us the parish president of Terrebonne Parish, Mr. Jason Bergeron. Mr. Bergeron, good to see you.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate this opportunity.
And I know you have a busy schedule, so we got an hour, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem.
All right. You run for office, you win, but the Jason Bergeron, let's go back many, many years. What's the earliest years you remember? Bring us back if you can.
You know, we kind of talked about a little bit before we got started, and I look at, I think memories. I've been doing a lot of things with family. My dad was a car guy, so we were at car shows or monster truck rallies, or used to have the stuff in the Superdome with the trucks that would pull the sleds, and all those different kind of things. We're always doing something around cars or with family. You would have. My dad's youngest at 18. We had a yearly family reunion, so we'd get I had 81st cousins in the 80s, and we'd get everybody together and cook and have a good time. So a lot of memories around family.
You had how many first cousins?
80 first cousins.
80 first cousins.
Yes, sir.
Well, 80 first cousins must come from a large family.
Yep. Youngest at 18, so.
Wow.
My dad, yep.
So the monster truck shows, I remember the advertisement where the guy with the big deep voice would come on in the Dome Saturday, the monster truck. So you went to that?
Yeah, we go to that. We go to drag races again, car shows. Used to go to the Rivergate in New Orleans, and then they moved all that to the Superdome. And just that was my dad's passion. He used to drag race cars back in the day at Southland Drags, and he always grew up. He's a mechanic, so he grew up as a car guy, and really learned a lot through being with him, and I have a great appreciation of automobiles.
So he must have known the Teutons really well.
Knew the Teutons, yeah. I mean, just. Kind of knew everybody, You go to
Sammy Pizzolata, the whole gang.
Yep.
Wow.
So.
When you go, but that brings back some great memories. Now you're one of two siblings, right?
Yes, sir.
You and a sister.
I have a younger sister, Teresa.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
But you were telling me, was it your dad that had 18?
Dad's youngest at 18. Yes, sir.
And we were joking when they passed the peas around. They really passed the peas.
Yes, sir.
Took a while to get them.
It did.
So tell me about your upbringing. Was it fancy? Was it simple? Was it, I say simple in a good way, but what was it like?
We didn't come from a whole lot. My dad's very hardworking. Both my mom and dad both worked. Very hardworking, but just not a lot of money to go around. And so grew up in a trailer from the time I could remember. We, kindergarten on probably. Started off in Raceland, then the Houma, and settled in Berg. I started at Berg Elementary in the 4th grade, and then went on to Montague Middle. Platoon to LaCache when Montague Middle burned down. I ended up at South Terrebonne, which was cool because that's where my dad graduated from. But just, not a whole lot of money to go around, very poor. I used to say too rich for food stamps, but too poor for food. And, it was something that I knew early on that you had to work hard to get anything you needed. Nobody's going to give anything to you. The world would chew you up and spit you out. And I knew that if I wanted to, make a difference in my life and with my family, with that many, cousins and everything else, I was the second one to go to college. Luckily, I got to go to college, play football in Minnesota after we won the state championship. Got some phone calls and was able to use that opportunity to extend my college, go to college and end up having to drop out due to various reasons and then got to work. But, it's really been about family and working hard and trying to take care of each other.
South Louisiana, Minnesota. Two different arenas.
Completely different world.
How did you get to Minnesota?
Some coaches called me, had seen a tape. I think I was part of a national merit program or something along those lines, and they said, we love how you play. You come up, you'll start your freshman year. You'll get your football number. We're ready. So I was actually in the process of looking at going to be an Army Ranger.
Yeah.
I was going to do the GI program because I wanted to go to college. And right before I took one, signed a little bit of paperwork, took one test, got the phone call, and a lot of people told me go play ball. So I'm going to play ball and experience of a lifetime. In a different city, in a different state, completely different world. I don't think you probably get more opposite of world in Minnesota than you could with Louisiana and Minnesota. But a great experience and people that I've known forever and become friends with, and got to play a football game in a blizzard for the first time. That was an interesting experience.
We just share the Mississippi. That's about it, huh?
Yeah, that's about it.
It's a little trickle up there, isn't it?
It is. And
Not much of anything. So that's pretty cool. But, you got to keep number 60?
Number 60, yes, sir.
How'd you get 60? Was that something you had? Did you start off in Bantam League?
I did. So I played TPR for the Berg Mustangs at the time.
All right.
It was interesting. For whatever reason, I was always a lineman. I was undersized. When I graduated, I was 170 pounds. I think when we won state, I was 165 pounds, defensive tackle. And so it was about quickness and getting to the ball. And like I said, TPR, and it was interesting because it was Montague had won the TPR championship the year before. We win the TPR championship the following year. And you take both of those championship teams along with other kids that all end up going to South Terrebonne. At the time when some people could choose between Ellender and South Terrebonne, and so the pieces just fell together for us to go after that championship.
People think I'm kidding. I've said it on the show many times, but South Terrebonne, I think Buddy Marcella told me this one day. He said, Martin, I would let the kids who had shrimping jobs or oyster jobs, they're on the boats working for their family to survive, I'd let them sort of come in late or work their schedule around that. That might be the only school in this area that did that, but that was a way of life down there, wasn't it?
Yeah, a lot of guys I went to school with they went shrimping and trawling on a regular basis, and everybody knew they had to provide for families. So, but we came together as a very quick, small team, and it started off with a season where our hash mark field was sand because they were trying to turtle back it, and it's something we got used to, and it just we worked hard, and you couldn't beat us sideline to sideline because we were so quick, and it's something that led us to that championship.
No, y'all had a good team. Like I said, we joke a lot. I remember covering it. I remember I had to treat y'all all to a steak dinner at the East Park Recreation Center, but Thibodeau won the same year, so y'all were all packed into the East Park Recreation Center, and I remember the talent in that room was it was incredible. But y'all were well behaved. I was just hoping there wouldn't be any brawl, but it turned out okay. But do you remember that vividly, or is it just a blur now when y'all won that championship?
It's kind of like with somebody, remember parts of the childhood. You have your things you just never forget. And you can remember certain things from certain games. And I remember us riding as a Hercules Grand Marshal on a float. So just little tidbits here and there from all that time, but just a truly amazing experience, and it's a bond that we all have together. When I see guys I played football with, that's something we will always share, and something that some people hang your hat on, and it's an accomplishment. As I understand, the only school in the parish to ever win a football state championship, We've had some schools win some basketball and baseball and everything else, but it's kind of like the 72 Dolphins. Like when somebody gets close, and you're like, oh, hope they do it. And when they don't, you're like, okay, well, we still only won. So you get the.
You're right. We made it to the finals my senior year, and we got our butts kicked by Horton 21-0. So we were all pulling for y'all. I mean, it was a magical year. Wasn't that Coach Curlin's maybe second year?
We had Prejean when I was a freshman.
Yeah.
Sophomore, Curlin was 5-5. Yeah. And then our second year under him, I was a junior. We went 14-1 and won the state championship.
But what was it like? Because you mentioned some of the friends. Everybody I can describe from Berg or South Terrebonne that made it there. And really the integration between blacks and whites was incredible. That was before the time. They got along so well. But the chemistry and the blue-collar attitude of that team and other teams at South Terrebonne was second to none.
Yeah, it's friends for life. It's that's what I love about when you play sports and some other. And I say sports, I'm not just talking about football, baseball. I've had some initiatives with esports. Anytime you get people working as a team, you may not agree with everybody, you may not get along with everybody all the time, but to come together and work for a common cause brings people together. You experience adversity together, and you work hard on the person on the side of you, and both you do your jobs. It just forms a bond that it teaches life lessons, and everything is what you get out of working in those situations. That's what I try to do to make sure, no matter what the task is or what the organization is, that people come together to work together and just leave things better than what you found it.
Where did you get the competitive spirit from? Where does that come from? Your mom's side, your dad's side? We all come from one side sort of dominates. Was your dad competitive?
Yeah, I think so. It's interesting because my mom actually got my dad watching football. So my mom's from Texas. My grandpa, until he passed, we talked football almost every day. But she kind of got my dad watching football, and I got into it from going watching one of my friends play. He was playing for the Mustangs at the time, and went watch a game. I looked at my dad, and I was like, I want to do that. And my dad was like, you really want to do that? I was like, oh, yeah, that looks like fun. And I took like a duck to water with it, picked up on it, and that's something that, I've been proud to say is that no matter what it is, I'm a fast learner, no matter what it is. I get involved in something, I figure it out, I perfect it, to a fault at some levels, but I really work to make sure that I strive for excellence in everything I do. I could tell you that as I was young before I discovered football, being poor, being not from the area, kind of a nerd, got bullied, got picked on, gained some weight, grew some height, learned football, and it became more probably of a survival thing more than anything else. But just knowing that I would get out of what I put into something is just something I learned early in life, and I've just applied that to everything I've done.
But y'all had to know who played before y'all. The Skippy Ezels, Tommy Boudreaux's, the Clarence Verdans, Troy Johnson. I could go on and on and on. Were y'all conscious of that when y'all were playing?
So in the Gator Den, right when you walked in, they had the Wall of Fame, and you could see all the people that played before, and they had their picture, and we all strive like we want to be in the wall, and we knew we had to work hard and achieve some things to do that. To me, what I find is just our area in general, not just even South Terrebonne, but our area in general is very passionate, very hardworking, like you kind of talked about blue collar. We know, we've always been a community that pulls ourselves up by our bootstraps, and I think just when you take that and put a little bit of talent on top of it, you can accomplish anything.
There was no doubt they had some good programs, some good games, good rivalries. But you talked about where was y'all house located when you were growing up?
So we lived on Rue Tet Rouge off of Country Drive. It's about 2 miles down from Presque Isle. And so, like I said, grew up in a trailer till I was about 17, 18 years old, and then we moved to the east side.
Yeah.
But lived around a bunch of friends, and we'd all take the backwoods to each other's houses, all the way from to where I lived at down to Bird Drive and further down to St. Agnes subdivision, and then going to Montague and going to LaCache. We played ball with all those guys, either on the same team or against each other. So we all knew each other. We all were friends at some level, shape, or form, and we all, we always like to get the other person. Like, we beat your team, you beat our team.
Right.
But at the end, that's what I love about our region also, is that we'll defend our team and you'll defend your team, but we defend ourselves against anybody else.
Right.
You know, like we come together. We don't have a bayou against a bayou.
Right.
But if you do something against the bayou in general, we're going to come together, and you're going to have to deal with both bayous after that. And
Yeah,
that's something
that's
that I
sort of the way
feel
to look at it.
we took our individual loves of each of the bayous we lived on and brought that together to South Terrebonne to fight that battle and work together as a team.
Yeah, before we get to, we'll talk a little politics, not much, because this show's not really designed for a whole lot of politics. But the Jason Bergeron that I first remember was dressing up like the coach at the Saints game, and you were having a ball with that. And they would focus in on you. They were zooming in on you before the games, and they were, I mean, you hit that at the right time because it was perfect. So there's this fun-loving Jason Bergeron, likes to have a lot of fun. Now you're stuck up on the 7th floor, and it's a pressure cook all the time. We know what parish president is. But do you revert back every now and then and sort of let yourself laugh? Because that's the Jason Bergeron I remember way back.
Well, when you look at the stuff with football, and look, I think football has allowed me to be where I am today, which with that passion. That same passion is the same passion that ended up doing the whole thing with Rob Ryan or doing the stuff with the leather helmet, that ended up getting my picture on the wall in the Superdome, which is crazy when you think about it. I did the whole Rob Ryan thing, but in the Superdome, I was pictured in a whole different costume on the wall in the pro shop, So to me, it's all about passion. Passion, whether I was playing ball, rooting for the Saints, running the chamber, running for office as parish president. It all comes back to my passion and the ownership and the responsibility I feel in my heart to always leave something better than what I found it. It's God put me here, and I talked about a lot in my campaign. I feel like I'm working God's plan and His timeline and doing the work that He allows me to do, and I always put it in His hands. And I feel like He's always put me in situations to make something better that need to be better at that time, and then move on to the next thing and make that better, and move on to the next thing and make that better.
Sometimes you got to sort of work through blurred lines. You were telling me when you lived in the trailer that it was a perfect apparatus for you to stick your head out the window and watch TV in the other room.
Yeah.
I mean, when did you figure out you could do that? How old were you?
Oh, living there so long, it's definitely hard to say. But look, living in a trailer had its advantages. You could sit on the vent when it was cold, cover around with a blanket and get warm. And again, I go back to back then we lived we lived on an acre of land in a trailer. Like it wasn't like you see now where it's trailers stacked on top of each other. It was it was
There's plenty of land.
Plenty of land. Always outside doing something either in the woods or in the ditch or in the bayou, playing tackle football with your friends and everything. So just real, the opportunity one of the steps on the path was to go to Berg, play for South Terrebonne, win a state championship, and then end up where I am today.
But I know a lot of people live in trailers who are much happier than people that live in very nice houses.
Well, look, it's all about it being a home, right?
Yeah.
I mean, no matter where you live, no matter what that looks like, you got to make that house a home. And if you do that, it doesn't matter what you live in.
One-on-One is brought to you by the law office of Waits and Downer.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System. Your health is our legacy. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bork, know your rights. South Louisiana Bank, it's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough. Alford and Associates, for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barker Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality.
As you being brought up, who were some people that latched on to Jason Bergeron and sort of, we all have a little mischievous nature when we're growing up? And I saw that smile, so you must mean I'm correct. So, but who sort of latched on to you? Who was the disciplinarian? Was it one of your parents, or was it a coach? Was it a teacher? Who was it?
So I got to give it to my dad. He was an amazing disciplinarian, but he had a no-nonsense approach to stuff. He would tell me, yeah, I've done that, and I've done that, and it really didn't pay for you to do that. And when my dad would tell me that, I'd be like, yeah, you're probably right. I was in honors classes and everything. Picked up like math, I could look at something, figure out, teach myself, and teach everybody around it. So I always had good grades, honor society, honors classes, that kind of stuff. And when my friends didn't, if they would do something, they'd probably get in a little more trouble than the kid that had good grades. And so I learned kind of early on is that if you take care of some things in life and do some things you're supposed to do, then maybe you can maybe act up a little bit more, but not too much, right? It was a balance of it all. But I wish I'd have taken studies more seriously, right? But my whole thing was I wanted to go to college, and I had to figure out it was either going to be, something like football or something like academics that would get me there. And so when I found that path of football, I probably a little more laxed on it, and I wish I'd have done better with it. Been able to get a college degree and been able to build multiple businesses that are very successful. It all comes back to that hard work, right? You put it. Getting out of something what you put into it and giving something your all. And it's the things you do when nobody's looking. It's all that kind of stuff, I think, that comes together.
Were you more driven by success, or were you more driven by the fear of failure?
I would say fear of failure.
Yeah.
Fear of continuing to be poor. Knowing that if I'm going to be responsible for every dollar I'm going to make, I got to make sure that I'm maximizing and doing everything I can to make myself more valuable for the companies that I work for, and being a fast learner, teaching myself computers, teaching myself how to draw equipment electronically, and just being able to see a need, try to fill that void, and become more valuable to the company that I work for was something that I learned early on, especially whenever you start to have some downturns in oil and gas. You'd see that the person that maybe did one of the two things that I did, if there was 5 things to do, if I could learn how to do all 5, then the people could do those things individually. If there was a downturn or somebody got laid off, then I had less of a chance of it being me. And so the majority of it was, even football, even as much as I like to joke around and talk, because I used to be real shy, didn't talk to anybody, all that eventually, I think, evolved from being a survival skill. Knowing that if I control the conversation, if I can make fun of myself better than anybody else could, that make people laugh, control that conversation, and then again, it ended up being survival, because being bullied on a pretty regular basis every day, that wears on a kid.
Well, when did they start bullying you? Were you aware of it at the time, or were you just sort of taking it as it came?
It's one of the things we kind of talked about earlier, where sometimes you block a little bit things that are out. I was the kid that took the names when the teacher left the class, and how that got to that point. But at a certain point, you just felt like you wanted to not be that guy, and so you got caught up in that circle. But I could never forget, like, we'd play sports and PE, and I had the record for the most walks, right? Because it's just afraid to fail, afraid to swing, right? And it just got to the point where I said, I got to take chances, and I got to do some things differently, and went from that to the most home runs, and again, kind of gaining some weight and gaining some size, and really taking the football, which again, turned my life around and helped me be where I am today. It was that camaraderie, though. It was that, I can work hard and make a difference in my life today. That's really kept me going to where I am right now.
For a guy who just told me that he fears failure more than anything, you sort of have tried a little bit of everything. On the end of it, you could have failed. All these positions you've had in organizations, they could have voted against you. You've tried a little bit of everything. You won some, you lost some, but you kept trying. So obviously, the fear of failure wasn't enough to change your mindset to try to roll through it.
I guess not having a college degree, knowing that it'd probably be a little bit harder road, a longer road. I had to learn that failure led to success. You know, all the things that maybe people get taught and maybe you learn from. And later on, I had some good mentors early on. A lot of trial and error, a lot of failure, a lot of opportunity too on the same side of it, because I was working for a guy who ended up having to close his company due to some reasons. And I went out and applied for jobs. I probably applied for 25 jobs. This is the mid '90s. You know, out of college, so I got hurt. Had to come home and trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life. Trying to get back into college, but not knowing if I could afford that or not. And I ended up getting a temp job through Manpower, who actually ended up placing me at a place that I'd applied for and never heard back from. And because I had some experience in working with a computer, ended up in their purchasing department. And from there, ended up setting up a quality department. I did dispatching. I set up a maintenance program and just did some things to help take them into the 21st century. And then through that same time, watching a guy come work on computers and going, that's trial and error. I could probably figure that out also. Next thing you know, I'm supporting their computers and then replacing him and just kind of moving on. And so having the ability to pick up on something and learn it and apply it, I mean, you know, with math, I could sit in an advanced math class, kind of joke around what the teacher was teaching. I'd teach myself, I'd teach everybody around me, and then I'd be done and be fascinating people that had learned through the teacher. And so I was like, okay, there's something going on here that's, I thank my parents for giving me the mindset for being able to do all that.
So you like math?
I love math. And I say I like math, it's just stuff that does come easy.
Comes natural to you?
Comes natural, and you know, math translates to analytics and computers and everything. But at the end of the day, I look at what I do is no really different than what my dad does. And he was an expert at his trade as a mechanic. And
what kind of mechanic was he?
Diesel mechanic.
Diesel.
So he worked at United Diesel for, I think, 25 years.
They always say keep your doctor and your mechanic very close to you.
So you got, you know, same mindset of a doctor, a mechanic, a computer tech type person, process elimination, using your experience and trying some things.
What's the first computer you worked on? Was it an IBM?
I remember it being $2,000 in the 90s. I remember that.
Yeah.
You know, I had a big 17-inch
Been
CRT
Apple,
screen. Man, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Had a floppy drive, the 4-inch floppy, and then we transitioned to the.
And then the printer that made all the noise.
Dot matrix printer.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
But that's a good question. But I know, I built my own computers early on. And everything else.
But what age did you figure out that? I mean, everybody I've talked to, everybody I've done a one-on-one with over the years, like, what age did you want to be a doctor? What age did you know you were a good athlete? What age did you know you wanted to be a lawyer? What age did you realize that you were pretty good at electronics, computers, and that stuff? So
the guy that had to close his company, he was a friend of my dad's. My dad went to school with him. I went to school with his son. And in talking to him, I was actually debating going to work overseas. I was looking at going to Kuwait and working in the oil and gas fields out there, because I think at the time it was $140,000 a year, tax-free. I was working at United Diesel part-time, doing different kind of tasks at that shop. And I went to talk to him about, where do I go from here? And after blowing my knee out, military wasn't an option anymore. And so he said, I tell you what, I got an office, I got a computer, why don't you go figure it out? And so every day I just sat in front of it, turned it on, got to playing with it. And some of that came from gaming. And that's why I've been so much of a proponent of esports. So we had in television, Atari, Nintendo 64, all those gaming systems coming up.
Yeah.
And I took an interest in simulation games, flying and driving.
Yeah.
And of course, when you start doing that, it was all computer-based. Something would go wrong. You need to figure out why it's going. And so I had that kind of experience with a computer. And then just learning to use stuff like WordPerfect and dialing out and downloading information or doing that kind of stuff. AOL had come out at the time. And so really I got working into using a computer, which became second nature. And then when it would break, not wanting to wait on somebody to fix it, right? Because when it was broken, I couldn't do my work. Right. So instead of sitting around, I was like, well, let me watch or let me see what I can do to get going. And so in that probably 95, 96 time frames, that had put me at 21 years old. I was like, okay, I got a pretty good understanding, worked some different jobs, and at 26 is when I started Technology Professionals. And I say that, but probably a year or two before that, I had a company called Millennium Computer Services. And because we were coming upon our millennium, right? The whole 2000 time frame. And just, again, it's just something I had a knack for. It came naturally to me, and I said, well, let's run with this. I'll be a computer mechanic.
All right, the most important question I'm going to ask you today is, when did you meet your wife?
So we actually met in high school,
Okay.
but both end up married and end up getting divorces and ran into each other, got to talking, knowing her from high school, and then my dad went to school with her mom and dad and everything else, and so that would be in 2010. That
So there was a connect. Just that.
Reacquainted.
But before y'all got married on your first time, was there any spark that might have been in high school? Did you ever say, "Oh man, that Angel"?
I mean, the guys always like the girl, right?
Well,
I mean,
y'all the same age?
same age.
All
yeah,
right.
Graduated
So you had to
together.
run into her in class. Was it an interest in it, or was it just something that developed after the first relationship?
You always notice the cute girls at school, right? I mean, she was one of those cute girls at school.
Very true story.
And so she actually was funny because I was homecoming king, she was prom queen, but we hung out with similar people, but we never really hung out a lot together. And so I ended up, like I said, I leave, I go to college, she leaves, she goes to college, get married, get a divorce, and just sort of run to on a regular basis. And I was like, well, God's put her in my life.
Now, be very careful how you answer this next question, but who fell in love first?
I would say I fell in love with her first.
Okay.
I would.
That's a good move.
Yeah, I would say me because I mean, she's a beautiful, amazing, smart person, and I'm very lucky to have her. And she has helped me become the man I am today, and I would not be where I am today without her.
Yeah, she's been by your side. She's been loyal.
She has.
Yeah, no doubt.
We've had a lot. We've had a lot going on that has brought us together.
Yeah.
And so.
And tell me about your family. I know y'all, that keeps you very busy.
Yes, sir.
And you got parish government that keeps you very busy. So how do you manage your time?
That's just something I've really never had a problem with. A lot of people's like, man, you must be drinking from a fire hose, and I'm just able to take stuff and compartmentalize it. You know, it is a lot. You know, early days, late nights, but you know, family I believe is important. I have 2 stepchildren who have been in their lives for pretty much most of their life. Now Aiden was 4, he's now 18, and Maddie was 9. She's like 22, going 23, something like that. I like talking about it because it makes me feel old, but no. She's about to graduate college at LSU in mass communications, and Aiden's getting ready to be a senior. And it's just been amazing to be a part of their lives and do anything and everything that I can to help make their lives as positive as possible, and you know, do anything I could to help be an impact in their lives and give them the best thing that I could do as a stepfather. And you know, I wake up every day doing everything I can for both my wife and my kids, because that's, you know, after God, that's what's important.
There's nothing wrong with mass comm, by the way. It's been a good field.
Yes.
It's changed a little bit with social media and different things. When we were there, we were rolling tape, and you know, you had to edit with all your tapes stacked up. Now, put them all on a computer and you can move them around. It's amazing what you could do. But you sort of grew up in that world. Or were you at the changeover when it started changing? Were you right in that, or did you sort of miss those old marks?
I came in kind of after the punch cards, right? So it
Well,
was
that's a good way to put it.
the floppies and you know, installing Windows with a stack of floppy disks this tall prior to the CD. It was interesting too, because when you look at the computer career and when I started, it was at a time when you would swap things like video cards and sound cards. Like something would go out, you take another card out and put another card in, and so that's transitioned to where everything's pretty much a throwaway now, right? Everything's on the motherboard. You know, the sound card, video card, all that's built in unless you want to upgrade. But a lot of those times, you know, it's transitioned from where you'd spend an hour or so fixing a $2,000 computer to where if you spend 30 minutes or more on a computer these days, you're wasting money. You might as well throw it away and get another one, you know. But it's been cool to go through that transition, you know, to see the disc and the DVD and Bluetooth and, you know, thumb drives and now. I mean, you don't even have a computer with a CD-ROM or DVD-ROM anymore.
Yeah, it's amazing. Let me ask you, let's sort of transition to a little government. The whole interview, I'm hearing from Jason Bergeron that I'm hands-on. I want to bust this brick wall down. I want to win a state championship. I want to learn how to fix computers. I want to get married and have children. I want to be the best person. I want to move up in the world. I want to be in charge of organizations, do different things. Now you get elected parish president. And that was a big dream of yours. There was no secret around town that you wanted to be parish president. Now you caught the tiger by the tail. What's it been like the first few? I know it's not all up to expectations, but what's it been like, and what have you learned the most?
So I feel like to answer that question, I got to tell a little bit of a story, right? And it comes from when I look at one of the men that led me to be who I am in life. It's my grandpa, and those men. I've told the story, but I'll tell it again. A man that was a World War II veteran, that was a pastor for 70 years in Texas. And I really grew up around him. My uncle's a pastor. My mom and my aunt played piano in church. And so a lot of church life, right? A lot of going to church on Sundays and Wednesdays and sometimes Tuesdays and Thursdays. But really watching my grandpa serve really put, and not only from that, but also through my childhood and coming up and getting opportunities from mentors that I wouldn't have had without somebody stepping up and saying, I want to help this kid out. And so from allowing me to get where I was, from watching my grandpa be a servant leader, it was always important to me that anytime I could give back to the community, I did. And if you look early on, I joined the chamber, whether I joined the chamber or Rotary clubs, being a part of SCIA, being a part of nonprofits, creating some nonprofits that didn't exist because we didn't have an Alzheimer's association. I lost both my grandma and my mama to Alzheimer's, right? So every time I saw a need, I just felt like there was a calling for me to get involved and again, make things better than what I found it or create something that didn't exist. And, I've heard some people say that I've been running for this for a long time. I had a calling to do this. I didn't know what I was going to do. I figured at some point I'd probably get involved. But when I look back to having passion and for what I do and what I love, it's always been the passion for the state of Louisiana. It's been the passion for Terrebonne Parish. For 20 years now, I travel, I go places, I tell them how amazing a place we were, how great the people were. You got to come check out our food. You got to come check out our culture. And so, as I work through different organizations, I'd usually get involved in an organization, feel that I could maybe do a better job of it or make it better than what it was. I'd usually go for the top position, and I'd lead organizations, and I'd make them more efficient, and I would do the things that were needed to take some of these organizations to the next level. Beginning of 21, I felt a calling to serve, and I felt like the best way to do that was to serve our parish. And I knew we were at a turning point. I knew that, since 2014, we've lost 15,000 residents, right? And when you look at that and trying to understand why and looking at, how I struggled as a kid and what my family dealt with, I just felt that there were some opportunities to do some things to lead our parish into the future. And that's what decided to run. And now that I'm there, I'll be honest, I love every minute of every day. It's not perfect, right? It's like any job. It's like anything that you do. You're going to have those days. But every morning I get up with the same passion and vigor for making the parish better. And just like in life, anytime I maybe got knocked down or failed, I get right back up and stand up and go after it with all the passion and love in my heart. But just trying to make the parish, and not saying it's a bad place, but it's a better place. I always believed in continuous improvement, like being better today than I was yesterday. I believed in that in working for people. I believed in that in owning companies. I believed in that in being part of organizations. That I just want to be better today than I was yesterday, better tomorrow than I was today. And just taking that same mindset, that same feeling of I could, anything, I always felt like I was a personal child for the longest time of if you want to do something, if you put your mind to it, you'll get it done. And I believe that anybody has the capability of doing that. And sometimes you do need a hand up or a mentor or somebody to help you kind of along the way or help you pick you up when you fall down. But I think no matter what, if people really want to achieve anything, they can.
One on One is brought to you by the law office of Waits and Downer. Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System. Your health is our legacy. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bork, know your rights. South Louisiana Bank, it's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough. Alford and Associates, for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barker Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality.
I think you've been in what, 3 months, 4 months?
3 months.
Oh, I lose count. But 3
Seems
months.
like
but,
longer,
but you seem to have tried to do a lot of things. You're probably so used in your world, and that's why I'd be a terrible public servant, because I'm used to coming into a private sector position, and you go, all right, let's do this today. In government, sometimes it's a little hard because you got all these voices and all these opinions and all these other people that say, whoa, like, so let's talk about the logo a little bit. You came in, you're ready to move with the logo. We all know by now, got a little resistance, but was that too early in your opinion, or was it just sort of the way Jason Bergeron does things? I want to try it and I want to put it out early.
Whenever you look at decisions that are made, whether you're personally or professionally, right? I say you can address any decision you're trying to make with 3 questions. What have you done? What are you doing? And what's holding you up, right? So, I take office as parish president, and a lot of this stuff I've kind of done research. For example, I was in Leadership Louisiana in 2017 because I was going to become chair of the chamber, and I wanted to travel the state to understand what everybody else was doing that was working versus wasn't working, right? And so you would look at who are the top 5, 6, 10 parishes in the state and what they were doing, right? And I saw opportunities that back in 2017, most of the areas around the state were working as regions where we weren't, right? And so just being a student of the game and understanding of what was working in other areas and what we could do to be the best Terrebonne parish that we could be, I compared. I looked at, who was number 1 in revenue, who was doing the most when it came to quality of life projects and what things were working and wasn't working. And so going into it, I'd already looked at the fact that when you look at growth or lack of growth inside the state, the parishes that were doing well were all following a basic, principle of what you can apply in business, right? So we talk about what's not going well or what is going well or what I've done versus what's holding me up. A lot of times it ends up being mindset and people being adverse to change. And nobody likes change. Mm-hmm. I heard a Shell CEO say one time that people really don't like change, and people in Louisiana really, really, really don't like change. And look, in my campaign I talked about we battle progress, tradition, and culture. Mm-hmm. Too much one affects the other. And so when we looked at, what did it mean when you looked at Terrebonne Parish and the brand that we're selling, right? Because at the end of the day, we're trying to sell businesses to stay here, to move here, residents to stay here, to not move away, to move here, right? You look at what is the advantage of a resident coming here or business coming here versus going to other parishes of a similar size or a similar revenue. And when you looked across the board, there were some things that they were doing that was working very well that we wasn't yet. And I'm not saying anything bad about why we wasn't doing it, right? My whole thing of my campaign was moving us forward. It's taking us from where we are, right? Because I believe you can't know where you're going till you know where you've been. Mm-hmm. And by taking us from where we are now and moving forward and not trying to reinvent the wheel, just doing the things of the parishes that are in the state that were being successful and weren't dealing with some of the issues that we were dealing with or who are already successfully dealt with some of the issues that we deal with. Mm-hmm. I'm a guy that I'd rather make 4 wrong decisions than no decision at all. Yeah. And so when I looked at the fact of the top 5 performing parishes in the state that were all rebranded, I said, I think that's something we need to look at. And I think it's something that if you do earlier on, so for example, we got to redesign our website. And this goes to, I've got about 20, 25 years in branding and marketing and websites. Every company I've built, I've done the brands for, the logos. I got an artistic background. So I've drawn a lot of this stuff out before you could even do it on computers. And so it's something else I got a knack for. It's taking a message or a mission of a company and converting that into something that's tangible and meaningful. No different than a mission statement or a value statement, which is all stuff in working with ISO 9000 and those quality programs you had to develop early on. That was one of the first things you created, right? What is the image? What do people think about? What is the mission statement? And so as you look at something as simple as redesigning the website, well, to redesign the website, we got to change some things, right? Well, are we changing things to match something that's always been? Then I kind of look at the seal as being something special. Like when I look at the seal, I see the trawl boat, I see the cane, and I see the oil and gas, and I see that the history of what has made Terrebonne Parish. For 100 years, we've worked on those industries. And I felt it was important that the seal be preserved and be used for things that are special and for official business, and that we had an opportunity to brand. Not that long ago, I want to say within the last 10 years, we were considered Louisiana's Bayou Country, right? It's a brand. It's something that you sell to people. And so I know there's other conversations about the saltwater fishing capital of the world and some other things. And so to take our history, to preserve that, to make it something that's protected, there's even an ordinance that says you got to get special permission to use the seal. So I said, well, let's make something that everybody can use, something you can put on cups, something you can put on hats. And let's look at a rebrand. Let's look at what that can do, especially as it relates to other parishes of similar size that are being successful in a state that have all done the same thing. And so to me, it's an easy decision. It's an opportunity. I said simple opportunity, but a simple opportunity to try something that says, in my campaign, I said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. Let's try something different. If it's worked for other parishes in the state, it doesn't hurt for us to try it.
Did it teach you a little bit? Because you got some blowback on it. Let's face it, you're going to get blowback as a parish president. I've never met one parish president that I've had the TV station with that haven't had blowback on a lot of different topics. So you're not new to that. But like I said, you come from a private sector and you used to certain things. Did you learn a little bit about, maybe launching it a different way next time, or would you do it the same way?
There's always opportunities for improvement. When you look at, how something's launched, I said in my campaign, Jesus brought people back from the dead and they killed them, right? You could be a miracle worker and still not make some people happy. What I see, and this is how I look at things differently, I saw a lot of people passionate about something in a parish has had a lot of apathy for a period of time. So when I look at people showing passion for a seal, I was like, okay, we got some passionate people that want to get something done. Let's get those people in the room. And what I've talked about in my campaign also was getting people in the room, have conversations, and fix issues. That's what's important.
So the loudest people that start on Facebook, come on up to the 7th floor.
Let's get those people in the room and figure out what else can we fix in the parish. Because again, we battle a lot of loss with the oil and gas industry, a lot of loss with seafood. So what are the opportunities to diversify our economy? I think the low-hanging fruit is to do some things with tech in both oil and gas and fisheries. And when I say tech in a fishery, I'm not talking about a computer on a trawl boat, but maybe a sorting machine, maybe a plate freezer, right? So where are the opportunities to do some things to help those industries revive and help come back a little bit, which in turn creates new industries, where at some point, maybe we're a tech city of the future, and maybe, we're a blue-collar town, right? But I'm also a guy that grew up in a blue-collar family that used technology to tear down bridges, bridge gaps, and build a life. There may be 10 other kids like that out right now. This is one of the reasons why we work on esports, is putting devices in kids' hands for an opportunity, because some kids might not even think that this is something they could do. They might think, I have to do a mechanic career forever, or I have to do this other career forever. And like I've had a conversation with my nephew, is like, well, you could be a mechanic forever, or do you want to be a mechanic shop owner? Because we got to do things to help make sure that you have that opportunity. But if you want to be a mechanic the whole life, that's great. Like we need people doing all services.
Right.
But we also have an employee shortage, right? This is nationwide. You're dealing with an employee shortage right now. So I think there's opportunities to diversify the economy. And I know I'm kind of telling it full story, but that's what rebranding means to me. You know, I've seen so many companies, and I say companies, nonprofit organizations, and it's not just businesses that I've worked with. So I've worked with many organizations. I've worked with government entities to help them rebrand and re-identify. The Levy District's website, right? At a certain point, trying to work with them on a logo and get people to better understand their message and what it meant to put that information into a website. So to do all that other work that we need to do, you know, we got to look and say, well, we're going to use something we already have. Can we use something different? And so we said, we're going to try something different, and we're going to see it's going to work. And again, I think when you look back a year or two from now, you're going to see that it was successful. And we're going to do everything we can. And look, this is all done by the hard work and passionate people that work in the parish, the directors and the employees that are now able to really take advantage of their talents and do some great work. And a lot of times I come with an idea and I let them run with it. And so whenever we're having conversations about did this work? Did people like it? Did people not like it or whatever? That's talent in our area that's making that, creating it, putting the effort into it. And that's something that I'm very proud of, to say that we have those hardworking, those very talented people working in our parish and doing everything they can to set a parish up for success.
And that's why I wanted to give you enough time to explain that. Another thing, we have a golden opportunity with probably Donald Trump. If you're in the Republican side of the sector here in Terrebonne Parish, you're looking at all the polls and the races, and now that the election is over, the focus will change to bigger and broader things. Of course, there's no secret. I'm a big believer, if you want to challenge somebody for a race and you want to go at it, we live in America. You go at it. But then when it's all said and done, it was a pretty contentious election. I say contentious, it might be a strong word, but it was pretty passionate. But now that it's over, as the leader of Terrebonne Parish, what kind of message can you have that would bring, the Republican committee locally in sync to where everybody's focused now on the big election?
I'm the kind of guy that says, if the Republican Party, for example, is not doing some of the things that I think should happen, or other Republicans should think it happened, I'm not the kind of guy that changes, right? As we talked about multiple times. I see a need, I fix it. So in that situation, and it's, again, not saying maybe things are bad, but there's always opportunities for continuous improvement, right? When you look at the divisiveness that we have within our country and within our state, part of me running was to help trying to make the political climate better at a country level, starting locally. And when I looked at Trump getting elected and listening to him talk about his legacy and things that he talked about after he got elected, and then having record growth within our country, when I get questioned, I do work around the country. So I'd have conversations on a regular basis, why you vote for Trump and why this and everything. And I told a lot of people, it boiled down to me, to whenever it wasn't him, all the people in our area are struggling and watching people lose their homes and families having to move away because of the economy not doing what we knew it could with oil and gas industry and everything. And so to have somebody that doesn't get in the way and stop us from being a business with moratoriums and everything else, I felt in a lot of ways, that's what, especially as a community, as we work hard, like we don't need help, right? We're gonna get it done on our own without any help. You've seen that after all these storms. It's about a situation of the government not being a hindrance and not getting in the way and having stuff like moratoriums and lease sales not being done to stop us from working when we know that we do it cleaner, safer, and more environmentally friendly than anywhere else in the world in South Louisiana, because we're so close to the coast. We live here, we fish here, we hunt here. And so when I look at what we try to do as Republicans and what that means with the battle we're fighting with the current president, versus having an opportunity for Trump to come back. That's what's important to me, right? The fact that we've been battling inflation and everything else this whole time is all, what are the opportunities for us to be successful in our region when things are happening at the international level and at the country level? What's important to me is we come together, and I told this from Miranda, who I ran against in the president election, is I call it moving one Terrebonne forward, right? We're Terrebonne Parish residents. We want to make sure that we do everything we can that Terrebonne Parish is successful, that the state's successful. Republicans have done a great job at the state level. We have a majority in both the Senate and the House. We have a Republican governor right now. We're starting to see the needle move a little bit on helping make sure that we're business friendly and doing some things to help fix the insurance crisis that we're dealing with. And so I want to make sure that I support whatever it is that helps us be more successful in business and more successful as a parish.
Because I watched Donald Trump, and I don't mind saying, sometimes I just wish he would put his phone down and just, even if he's running against Nikki Haley and Nikki Haley doesn't quite give the speech he wants as she's getting out the race, and he puts that one little hit in there and it ignites everybody. And he's pretty good at doing that, but I think a lot of people, I'm the type of person, I've seen this parish from so many different angles. So I see you as the leader of the parish. Then I see like Lenore Whitney, who, God, she puts her heart into this Republican Party, and she lives and dies for this Republican Party. She has a chance to be there again, I think the longest serving, possibly, if she wins this upcoming. So I look at Jason Bergeron as the Donald Trump that, okay, took my shot, but now it's time we all get together and unite, drink a cup of coffee, have a donut, have a beignet, and let's roll. And I think I'm hearing you. That might be the direction you're moving in.
Well, look, this has never been about me, right? This is about Terrebonne Parish. I've said it over and over again. I wanted what was best for Terrebonne Parish when I was running, as far as if it wasn't me, whatever God's plan was, it was about, just at the end of the day, what is going to move Terrebonne Parish to the level that we want it and we deserve. And so I believe in working together. I believe in doing everything we can to be united front. We're working on doing that with the council. I think we've had a great working relationship in these 3 months here working with the council, because we're all having a conversation about the benefit of the doubt, and I lead with empathy. I'm big into being a servant leader and helping people be more successful and setting them up for success. Because I believe you can't hold people accountable till you do all that. And so in situations where I've worked to hold people accountable, every time I do something and every decision I make is coming from a place that I want us to be better than where we were, right? When I look at the fact that people are getting passionate about the seal, I think that's great. I believe with passion, you can accomplish anything. So let's take that passion and go back to the 3 questions I asked earlier. What have you done? What are you doing, and what's holding us up? If Terrebonne Parish was perfect, we wouldn't have to do some of the work that we have to do, but it's not. And you look at what's been done to get us to this point right now, right? When people say levees and pumps, and people kind of moan and groan a little bit, but without the levees and pumps that were done, I don't have a parish to make better, right? And so all the people that have come before me, I'm the 8th parish president, and look, that's a legacy to me. Very proud of that. I'm very, very honored that the residents, some of the residents decided that they thought I'd be a good option. I felt that with my experience and with my knowledge that I could take my skills and bring us to the future. And having a tech background, but a mix of, a bad process without tech is a bad process with it. So being able to mix something that could be a manual process and a technical process along with passion gives us, I feel like, the best opportunity. And that's all I want us to do. I want us to work together. I want us to do everything we can to make the parish better. And I want to, everybody get up every day and saying, have I done everything I can to make this parish better today than it was yesterday?
One-on-One is brought to you by the Law Office of Waits and Downer. Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System. Your health is our legacy. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bork, know your rights. South Louisiana Bank, it's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough. Alford and Associates, for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barker Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality.
All right, now that we've talked about, RPEC, with Lenore being in that situation now where she can move on a state level and she'll be appointed to the national committee, would you endorse Lenore and sort of help unite that party into one for Terrebonne?
Yeah, look, it's no different than when I won my election. I knew the residents made a decision. If I wouldn't have won, it'd have been a situation where I just want what's best for Terrebonne Parish and best for our state and best for our country. And so she's in that position, no different than, who's president. We have one president, we have her in her position, we have a governor in that position. Whether we agree or disagree, one of the things I think we could definitely do better in our parish, in our state, in our country, is getting behind and supporting the people that are doing the jobs they're doing. And so, if Lenore's going to be the one that helps get the president we need elected, I'm going to get behind her, get behind our local RPEC to make sure that at the end of the day, we're doing what's best for the Republican Party. We're doing what's best for Terrebonne Parish. And at the end of the day, that's what's important.
Is it too much to ask that maybe we could get Donald Trump in Terrebonne?
I would think that'd be great. I think, again, what he's done for the economy and, when you talk about Donald Trump, we talked about it a little bit earlier, is that people get mad when he tweets and does everything else. But that's also the thing that makes Donald Trump Donald Trump. And so if he didn't do that stuff, he might not have been president.
Maybe not do it as much.
But he still,
yeah.
When he tweets something,
it is what it is.
He gets more followers, not less, right?
Yeah,
and so
I tend to agree with you.
So when you look at that, we know when you look at him, his passion, and you look at Lenore, her passion. Mm-hmm. You look at the people that like the old seal, the seal that we have, not the old seal, but the seal we have, right? Yeah. Their passion, right? So it's kind of looking at things differently and putting yourself in somebody else's shoes to understand that Lenore is passionate for the things that she's doing because she wants what's best for the state, or the parish, or for the country. Same thing with RPEC and all, to understand that they all have their passion. And that's how I believe that I look at things differently, because I know that they have their passion. We may not all agree on the way we're going to get something done, but the fact that we're all rowing together for a common goal, working together for a common goal is the bigger picture is what's more important.
I've seen every parish president, for lack of a better word, out of respect, one up the one before, because that's life. Because my dad wanted my life to be better. So he gave me opportunities. So every parish president has given every parish president opportunities. I think your situation is a little different because Gordy focused a lot on pumps and water control structures. He did the water parks and some quality of life thing. You're coming in, and sure, you're going to have to pay for those, maintain them, keep them going, probably add a couple here and there. But your focus and your vision is something else. So for the first time in my life, I see a situation where a parish president could give the former parish president a legacy while the former parish president makes sure that you get your legacy. This could be a golden dream when we look forward. I haven't seen that in the past. We might be sitting on a great opportunity.
Again, I believe God put me here for a reason. Mm-hmm. And my firm believes in everything happens for a reason. Again, I can't say enough that it's not about me. It's about, if the parish is ranked 40th in something, I want us to be 39. I want us to be 36. At some point, I want us to be number one, right? I'm very competitive. That's one thing that, for whatever reason, as competitive as I am, I want us to be the best. And I guarantee you, from the time I get up in the morning till the time I lay my head down at night, I feel like I'm doing every decision to say, What can we do to move us up in our rankings? What can we do to make things less of an issue for residents? What can we do to set up employees to be more efficient and be able to do their jobs at a level they feel like they can be successful? And so that's all I want, man.
Is that competitive spirit misunderstood sometimes?
I guess it could be. It's one of those situations that confidence could be considered, maybe conceited sometimes. But I just believe in myself, and I believe in myself through the powers and abilities that God has given me. And so I pray to him every day just to make me the best person, to help me make the best decisions, to help make sure that that I'm putting our residents first and then parish employees first and the council members first, putting my family first, putting God first above all. And that's how I manage and work on a daily basis. I mean, it's that simple.
Rolling stones gather no moss, right?
That's right. That's right. And it won't be because of lack of trying, for sure. Again, success is built through failure, and that's something I've learned through life. Is that everything's not going to go maybe as planned, or you could always say if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So I try to do as much as we can, but also believe in the 70% rule that sometimes I'll make a decision with 70% of the information, because if you wait till you get 100% of information, it's too late to make that decision. And so just taking the successes that I've had in life, through businesses, through organizations, through relationships, and being able to apply that, and then also show other people how they can do the same thing, and kind of come back to that, what have you done, what are you doing, and what's holding you up, then come back and say, well, what do you think we should do to fix it?
I've watched parish presidents in Terrebonne and Lafourche and St. Mary, and I've watched younger parish presidents react real quick because they got erroneous information. I've seen this so many times, but I've watched them later in their career sit on information till they get to vet it a little more. And I guess you're in a position where everybody's probably offering you information every day. They probably come in, let me tell you what I heard. Let's be honest. So I know we all want to be what was her name, Miss Kravitz? Oh, and I forget, Bewitched or whatever it was, and she's getting all the information and she absorbs it and runs with it quick. But you gotta absorb it and try to see what a source is. And is that a learning process, or is that something you're pretty good at?
It's as I work this job every day. It's that, how much is it organization versus how much is politics? Thinking it was probably more of a 90 organization, 10% politics, and learning that it's more 50-50. Yeah. Unintended consequences and everything that goes with it. I ran as not being a political guy. I'm a guy to get stuff done, right? But I got to tell you, like, going into this, sitting down with employees, so one of the things I've worked on these first 90 days is change the way we manage people. And that's what I've been able to do successfully in any organization, is to set people up for success so that we can then hold them accountable, make everything measurable. You eliminate the should know, should do, and everything. And so working real hard to get that stuff implemented, and some initiatives in each department of things that we want to do as it relates to efficiency and as it relates to organization, and just making everything trackable and measurable, right? Knowing that this task wasn't or was achieved, and it was achieved by the date it should have been, right? So from the policy, procedure, structure guy that I am, before I even did anything with tech, it's about having that conversation. But then it's how things get heard, or how things, you say something, but then somebody maybe hears something different. Yeah. Or you say, let's look at doing something along this area and this side over here. The political side of it, is something that you work hard every day. To me, that's a conversation of saying, well, do I hold this now? Do I release that now? Or do I push forward this? Do I get more people in the room? Do I get less people in the room? We're going to do some things. We're going to make some decisions. And sometimes the decisions might not be the right one, and we're going to turn around and do something differently. But a lot of it's driving on our employees and our directors, and I told all of them, you bring me a solution to the problem, 9 times out of 10, we're going to go with that. And there's going to be that 10th time that we don't. We're going to talk about why, and having the buy-in and having them understand. And it goes back to being that servant leader. And so when you look at what we did with renaming quality of life, I knew that when people said recreation, people thought children. When people said TPR, TPR had this black eye. I was a TPR coach. I've been involved in TPR since I was a kid, and it's really provided me some opportunities. But again, going back to that, not that people did things bad, but there's an opportunity to do some things differently. And so through renaming that quality of life, we then took the Main Street area, we took the marina, we took the Civic Center, the Sportsplex, and we put all that into that same quality of life conversation. And through that quality of life conversation, just when you say quality of life instead of recreation, people look at it as more opportunities. And so when I look at making that change, that's something that, as I understand it, we're the first quality of life department in the state. But we've been having a quality of life issue in Terrebonne Parish for a period of time now that people would probably confuse with recreation. But recreation to me, baseball, football, basketball, it's not kayaking in the bayou. It's not fairs and festivals. It's not parades. So now all that, including the work we're doing throughout with revitalization throughout the parish, now fits into this one bucket that we're having to bring all these things into play.
You play pickleball?
I have played pickleball.
You like it?
I like it.
I've never played.
I like it. Yeah.
I'm sort of the old school guy. Just put me on a tennis court. I want to play tennis.
Right.
But I don't mind trying. But let me ask, what do you do for fun? When you turn the lights off over there on the 7th floor and you're going home, I know you're going home to your family and all that, but do you ever just sit back and drink a beer? Have a little fun?
Yeah, I mean, it is about family. We got kids that are about to be out the house, empty nesters, so doing everything we can when they want us to. Of course, kids are cooler than that now. But whether it's my dad and I, we have a car that we work on and as a project car. So doing things like that with him, going to the many great festivals and organization events that are going on a regular basis. Just to get out and just be in the public and see people and see friends and memories, like create memories and experiences. It's definitely a time in life where it's about living the best life you can.
And I know you won't say it, you want to admit it, but I'll say it. Matter of fact that you have a son that has some challenges and you take a lot of time to go and travel and get him the best care and all that. And if I have to tell anybody in the audience that comes first, well, then something's wrong. But I admire that. And you're taking time and you're trying to do your job as parish president, but you have to take care of the duties too.
So when I go back to God's plan, you may not, when I was put into his life and both him and my stepdaughter's lives, you never know what's in store. Mm-hmm. And that gets me to a better understanding about disabilities and people being, handicapped and everything. But no doubt in my mind that God put me in this family's life. But just as much for me as it was for them, because I learned a lot. And probably not by going through that experience, I don't know if I'd be where I am today. And so I just, it's really led to the other part of my servant leadership was the empathy. And putting yourself in somebody else's shoes, because you don't know what somebody's going through. Right. And what you may not think is a lot could be a very heavy burden to somebody else. And so I've really worked to understand, and I like to tell this little story that, sometimes I might get cut off in traffic accidentally, right? And I look and go, well, and that could be my mom, it could be my sister, it could be my wife that is having a rough day or whatever's going on, or again, with the situation we've probably dealt with my son where, just not the best day sometimes. And so, just to take that second and go, man, you don't know what they're dealing with before you just react. I think it's something that we could do better when we talk about being a better nation. Mm-hmm. I think that if we all led with a little more empathy and a little more benefit of the doubt, things like road rage and situations where Karens are chewing people out and everything else, I got some advice that a friend of mine gave me that I live by to this day, that nothing is as good or as bad as we think it is. Mm-hmm. And if you really look at things like that, when something happens, whether it's good or it's bad, it's about that balance. And that's something that I believe as a human, as a parish president, as a parish, working to make sure that we have balance in everything that we do. Be empathetic, be servant, take that second to say, well, man, you don't know what they're dealing with. Mm-hmm. Maybe try to get a better understanding of that. Leads us to being a better nation, a better parish every day.
Yeah. A couple of more questions. Are you grounded, or does Angel ground you?
Angel grounds me. I mean, I'm the dreamer. Yeah. I'm very passionate. I'm not afraid to try anything. So she definitely keeps me grounded.
Does she say sometimes, honey, Take a deep breath. Rethink this.
Well, it's with our relationship, I think we do that for each other. That was interesting during the campaign that sometimes I'd be that person and all, and she's very passionate, very caring, very loving. And as a team, we've been able to do some great things for our parish and want to continue to do that. And we want to make it a place where, my daughter's moving away, my son's talking about moving away. Mm-hmm. The opportunity for those kids to come back, it's something I've been able to successfully do in my businesses, is bring people back here that used to live here, that didn't have the opportunity to work here. And I've been able to move, numerous people back and give them an opportunity to come home and do the work they love to do here. It's the same thing I want to do for all the kids that leave and all the families that move away, that know this is one of the best places to live in the world. But sometimes we got a lot of issues going on that stop it from being an easy place to live.
Yeah. And I do appreciate your time. I know you got to go to another function. Last question. If I were able to get Angel in a room and all your family members and get that old South Terrebonne football team in there, and Coach Richard Curlin and Shane and just a lot of it, Robbie, just a lot of people in one room. You weren't allowed in the room. You went in the next room. And I said, give me one word to describe Jason Bergeron. And I made them come up with one. So they had to have a consensus on one word. And they hand me a piece of paper, and you walk in the room, and I'm looking at that sheet. What's the one word you would hope would be on that sheet to describe you?
Passion. That's the word. That's the word that describes me.
I knew you would pick that word. Is it kind of obvious?
Yeah. I mean, look, again, I wouldn't be where I am without the passion. And of course, the Lord. I got to give thanks to the Lord because He's really shaped and molded me and my life to where I am today. And the tool that I've been given is that passion that says, I'm relentless to a fault. I'm confident in making a decision and moving forward with that decision, And again, sometimes that decision is going to be a mistake or a bad decision. We'll just make another. And that's what's nice about life, is that you can take failures and turn those into success. And at the end of the day, that's all I want for our parish, is for it to be successful.
And you're right, passion can be both good and bad. I've learned that over the years. But you as the parish president have that button and that power to unite the whole parish. So I look forward to watching you in this realm, and I look forward to all the projects that you have, and I appreciate the time you've given us, and good luck in your ventures.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate this opportunity, and I want to thank the residents, and God bless Terrebonne Parish.
For all of your cases, including those with catastrophic significance, call Waits and Downer Law Firm. Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System. Your health is our legacy. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bourke, know your rights. South Louisiana Bank, it's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough. Alford and Associates, for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barker Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality. This one-on-one program has been brought to you by the law offices of Waits and Downer.